It's January 27th, and the strange side of history awaits. Today, we have a mission consumed by fire before it could even leave the ground, a land discovered where life barely survives, and gates opened to horrors the world struggled to comprehend. Let's begin. On January 27, 1967, beneath the floodlights of Cape Kennedy, NASA believed it was running a routine rehearsal. The spacecraft sat silent on the launch pad, powered, sealed, and waiting. Inside were three astronauts, Gus Grissom, Edward White II, and Roger B. Chaffee, men preparing to lead humanity's next great leap into space. Then, without warning, a voice crackled over the radio. "Fire. I smell fire." The command module was filled with pure oxygen, an invisible accelerator. A single electrical spark was enough. In seconds, flames raced across Velcro, wiring, and nylon, turning the capsule into a sealed furnace. As pressure surged, the inward opening hatch became impossible to move. Ground crews watched helplessly, unable to reach them in time. The mission was known as Apollo 1, and it never left the ground, but it changed everything. The program was halted, designs were torn apart and rebuilt, and oxygen levels were lowered. Escape hatches were redesigned to open in seconds, and more than 1,400 safety changes followed. The loss of Apollo 1 cast a long shadow, but from it came a hard lesson that made the moon landing possible. Every safe return afterward carried the memory of what went wrong on that night. On January 27, 1820, at the bottom of the world, two ships pushed through the ice no map could explain. Commanded by Fabian Gottlieb von Bellinghausen and Mikhail Lazarev, the Russian vessels Vostok and Mirny drifted into the waters long believed to hide nothing but a myth. Through the frozen haze, the crew saw it, an immense wall of ice rising from the sea. It was recorded as an ice shore of extreme height, silent, endless, and unmistakably land. Humanity was staring at the Arctic for the first time. Days later, British officer Edward Bransfield, guided by a sailor William Smith, sighted the jagged edge of the Arctic Peninsula. Each encounter was brief, distant, and unnervingly incomplete. For decades, Antarctica remained seen but untouched. It wasn't until 1895 that a human boot finally pressed into its soil. Even then, the continent offered no welcome, only wind, silence, and endless white. On January 27, 1945, Soviet soldiers pushed through the gates of Auschwitz-Birkenau, unsure of what they are about to find. The fighting had moved west, guards were gone, and the camp was silent. What emerged from the barracks was not cheering crowds, but ghosts. Roughly 7,000 prisoners remained alive, the ones too weak to march, too sick to flee, or too young to be useful. Many could barely stand, some could not speak at all. The soldiers quickly realized this was not a prison, it was a machine built for death. The warehouses stood filled with evidence the Nazis failed to destroy. Mountains of shoes, piles of eyeglasses, hundreds and thousands of garments. And stored away as if it was raw material, tons of human hair. Just days earlier, nearly 60,000 prisoners had been forced out on a brutal death march. Thousands never survived the winter roads. Between 1940 and 1945, more than 1 million people were murdered here. Most of them Jewish, through gas chambers, starvation, forced labor, and medical experiments. The liberation of Auschwitz didn't feel like a victory, it was a revelation. The UN has designated the 27th as International Holocaust Remembrance Day, to pause and remember not only what happened, but how easily it was allowed to happen. Another day, another strange bite from history. Like, comment, and subscribe. Your next eerie dose is just a day away.